Ladies and gentlemen, joining me on another edition of The Haunting. Friends, Erin Taylor, author, is joining me right now, or I should say author Erin Taylor. That probably makes a little bit more sense. But anyways, this is the first time we've chatted. Erin, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Now, I got to set this up. The way I stumbled across you, I believe it was Jeff Berlanger had a post up about you, correct?
Yes, it was a very classy picture.
Jeff is one of those guys I'd love to say that I'm friends with him because he has come on the show a few times and we've talked. And I always think I think it's one of those I like him more than he likes me type things. But no, I saw about your book and I wanted to have you on because who writes books about haunted bathrooms? Mm-hmm. That'd be Erin Taylor. Yep. That's who writes books about. We will get to that here in a second, but the tradition in this whole thing is kind of chatting about how you got into the world of the paranormal, what you believe, what you think about this stuff. What was your first steps into the world of the weird, Erin?
I think I'm going to have to go sometimes with that cliche of always liking the ghost stories. When I was a kid, the stories like Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, R.L. Stein, Christopher Pike, absolutely loved those, even though they would scare me, but I was so brave. I was wanting to see a ghost. And then I kind of just grew up. And I think there was a period of where it's like, oh, okay, we don't talk about ghosts. We just don't do that. And it wasn't until years later, I started watching the shows like Most Haunted and Ghost Hunters, and, the Travel Channel became what it was. I always thought that was for TV people. And my mom recommended it, and I found a local team in Colorado Springs and found out it was not nearly as exciting as it was on TV, but oh my gosh, I loved it. And I've been doing it now for almost 12 years, doing the formal part of it.
That's kind of the thing that I think every TV show gets wrong and every YouTube channel gets wrong. It's not as exciting as people think.
Right. We can be sitting there 8 hours for just 30 seconds of something. And that makes the whole night complete.
Like we were talking about off the air, not everything's demonic is what it kind of comes down to. So Erin Taylor joining me on the line to talk about the world of the weird. All right, so this is just something, for you, it was, I'm just interested in this growing up, right?
Yeah, it was cool. It was not really understood. I was part of that, looking back, that ghosts were kind of in the category of, monsters and vampires and mummies. Like they weren't connected to people. Okay. And it wasn't until I was much older, of course, realizing what ghosts and spirits and hauntings were. And then, of course, I could go on about the whole psychology of it all, but it just became more of a fascination with wanting to understand more and what it all is.
When you were on these early investigations, with these different teams, what was the first moment that you were like, okay, there is something to this. There's something weird is going on here?
I think I was kind of backwards with that.
Okay.
So a little bit of backstory. We have a road down here I'm in Colorado Springs, and we have a urban legend up in one of our mountain roads called Gold Camp. And this may sound familiar because I've realized much later that almost every state seems to have one, but it was a story of a school bus crashed, a bunch of kids died, and now they haunt the road.
Okay.
But it was one of those where going up and expecting all of this stuff to happen didn't happen.
Okay.
So as I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, everything's made up, I saw something pacing. I guess that's the best way to describe it. But only one other person in my group could see it. It was at the end of one of the tunnels, and there was just movement back and forth. Could never capture it on film, could never do that. But the validation from someone else was, okay, it's just it's not me making things up.
And what was the road called?
It's called Gold Camp Road.
Gold Camp?
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking it up right now as we talk. I've got Google Maps up. Gold Camp Road. Really? Yeah, I went
from Colorado Springs up to Cripple Creek, a great little ghost town, which also has a lot of spooky places. And they had to close it off due to, vagrants were going in and setting fires and things. And the city said it was too expensive to repair. And so it became a place of bonfires. And Joe Kenda from Homicide Hunter, and that's my backyard. He called it for ghost hunters and victims of homicide. It was just, that's what Gold Camp's known for.
Really? That's pretty insane. So that was the story growing up, and you got some confirmation of it. That's crazy. When was the last time you've been back there?
It would probably be before COVID, actually. It became really, really unsafe just because it is a single lane dirt road. I mean, you got to go like 20 miles an hour. It's got washboard. I mean, it's just not stable. There's some guardrails, but people will die going off that road, and these
oh my goodness
kids will go up, and they are believing the lore. And the lore is you stop in the tunnels and you turn all your lights off and you wait, and then the kids are going to push your car. Of course, you'll find handprints, and we know that that's dust from our hands. But if they turn off their lights and another car's coming through, that could be dangerous.
Yeah. You know what's crazy about it? The road is so isolated that even, like, there's no street view. There's a couple, like, panorama pictures from it, but that's about it.
Oh, yeah.
Erin Taylor on the line with me right now talking about the world of the weird here on The Haunting. So early on, it's, you know, you've got the stories, you go do the paranormal stuff with some of the teams. Are you still doing that sort of thing? Like, do you still go out with teams?
Yes. So I have my own team here in Colorado Springs. We're called Cheyenne Mountain Paranormal. And we've been around, we formed in 2013. So we go and we'll occasionally do public events where we bring in members of the public, like usually up in Cripple Creek, because you ever want to check out some really cool old like ghost towns, that one's like, it's right up your alley.
Okay.
But we've done some other, we'll go out of state. We've gone to Kansas. We've gone up actually just as recent in March. We went up to Ohio and we did a few places over there. We like have ghosts will travel. I just went and was reading with my buddy Richard for part of his writing, and we were in Wisconsin.
Okay.
So it becomes very quickly a very costly habit.
Yeah, that's what it kind of sounds like. Real quick, so Cheyenne Mountain Paranormal, was that the name of it again?
Yes.
What's kind of your guys' flavor of investigating? Like, do you do just landmark places? Do you do residential? Do you do both? Like, who's on your, like, what kind of team is it?
So we are, we come from a scientific approach, you know, going in and looking at, are there other explanations for, you know, this and that? You know, it's an old house? Is it creaking because of that? Is it poor plumbing? Is it, you know, high electrical interference? So we have all the fun devices and things like that to look at. And if we roll that out and we're getting other stuff like recordings or other anomalies that we can't otherwise say, and that's what makes it all cool. So we primarily do more businesses. After COVID, we shied away from residential just because we had some health concerns with members on our team.
Okay.
But
that makes sense.
The rare help case, of course, yeah, we're happy to help with those, especially if, you know, someone's really scared. But yeah, it's just kind of we'll go where we're needed. Two-part
question, just because it is the Halloween season and, you know, you got to ask this. One, best piece of evidence you've ever collected with the group, and two, legitimate, like, I don't know if scary is ever the right word because we like ghost hunters like going to scary places, but possibly weirdest, scariest place that you like, wow, that place is freaking haunted.
That is definitely a double-sided question. Yes, it's kind of like firefighters running into the fire. We're the ones who are, you tell us it's like super scary and haunted. We're like, ooh, we're in there. I would say probably the coolest piece of evidence that I have captured was in the Hinsdale house, Hinsdale, New York, near Buffalo. And we had, we were up in like the master bedroom. And this is a house that was said to have different ghosts and attached to the land.
Okay.
Some people will say it's the most haunted house in America, pretty much. I was sitting in the closet watching a mirror that people use for scrying, and I was filming, and only in my camera versus the mirror, I could see a figure bobbing in and out. I couldn't see it with my own eye. There was no one in the room moving.
Really?
So yes, there's a figure moving in and out. So, and that was there for a couple minutes, and then a team member did come over, and then it vanished. Yeah, that one was by far like the coolest thing. Usually I have things happen and it doesn't capture on anything, which is highly disappointing.
Yeah. Little white house near Buffalo, it looks like.
Yes, it's a nice little farmhouse.
Okay, all right. How about like scariest, creepy, you know, gave you the heebie-jeebies place?
I would probably actually have to go into your backyard and go to Squirrel Cage Jail.
Really?
But it fascinated me all at the same time. Does that make sense? Where it was like major creep factor. And it was only in the circular cells. The rest of the building was fine. And I don't claim to be psychic or empathic, but sometimes you could just feel something.
Yeah.
And myself and another investigator walked up to the second floor, and it was like we were greeted by bars just, banging about, like something was trying to get our attention. And so it's like walking up and going, oh my gosh, okay, what are we walking into? Because you don't know. I can hear this, and I know there's no one in there.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I'm thinking, these are dangerous criminals. And we were also sleeping there. We got permission to sleep there that night. So once, of course, we walked up there, it stopped. I don't know. We were joking because we were both females and we were intimidated. But sleeping there, I purposely slept in the male tier that it was not very easy sleeping that night. And so I wouldn't say, I can't really say that I have never been super terrified, but it's been more of that high discomfort of the what if.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about because I have the same thing. Like, I don't claim to be, sensitive by any stretch of the imagination. Like, do I like doing this stuff? Yes, absolutely. But, I can't say that I've got a, sixth sense about the stuff. But there is that feeling of, there's someone home, that the house isn't empty is what I call it. Yes, I know what you're talking about exactly. Erin Taylor, author Erin Taylor, I should say, joining me on The Haunting, talking about some of the places she's been. So with Cheyenne, and I'm sorry, I'm trying to get back to my notes and it's not letting me for some reason. Cheyenne Mountain Paranormal, what's kind of next for you guys in that stretch? Do you have stuff going on this winter, or is it some groups here in Iowa, they'll close down for the winter just because of weather-related stuff? But what's kind of next for you guys in that respect?
Actually, we are pretty much doing the same thing. Really, really busy throughout the summer and the fall, and just kind of hunkering down. We're still in summer, weirdly, in Colorado. I'm expecting winter is going to be pretty tough, but I'm finishing up one book, and then I'll be also starting another one, and it'll be just riding out the storm until we will be at Missouri Paracon come February, and there might be an investigation attached with that. But
cool.
Right now, things are just open, which is actually really nice.
It's nice to have a weekend every once in a while, right?
Mm-hmm.
Erin Taylor on the line with me right now, and we will get to the books here in a minute. You said you've got family at home, correct? I believe I read.
Family in home.
Husband, kids, just family.
Oh, yes. Yeah, sorry. I'm thinking like extended family. No, it's been... my brain is just back on the same page. Yes, I live with my husband and my daughters.
What do they think of this stuff? Are they into it, or is it just mom's weird hobby?
They are into it. So actually, I met my husband through that first team. Actually.
Really?
And he's a very, very tech guy. He's got that very analytical brain.
Okay.
And so he'll go in. So he's kind of a skeptical believer. Like, he knows there's something more, but he can sit there and try to analyze and break it down. And so he normally will keep calm and collected, and he'll fall asleep in like the strangest places. We were in Brushy Mountain Penitentiary last fall, and he fell asleep in solitary, and it was just fine.
Huh.
And okay, that's cool. He's happy to be a sugar object. My kiddo, she thinks it's like absolutely amazing. So trying to teach her how to, she's 11, that ghosts are okay. And so she has gone on a couple investigations, and she gets really excited when she thinks she's interacting with something. She's like, they want to talk to me. Like, okay, well then be friendly, be respectful, and teaching all that. And
yes, sir. No, sir. Yes, ma'am. All that. Yeah. No. Let me ask you this: was it an 8 when you were? Because I've got a kid that, I sometimes wonder about this with this stuff, and this is kind of off the subject of what we were going to talk about, but I am interested. Like, was it just, I think you're at the right age to do this? Or is it like, hey, we're not going to try and do any of this until you're 10? How did it kind of come around in your house?
It was making sure she had the maturity level to know what she's doing. I mean, it's hard. You may have heard some kids that are they say they're more sensitive to seeing things, feeling things. They actually say that all of us are a little bit more in tune, and then we grow up and get told we shouldn't do so many things there. We were at a place and she was about 3, and we didn't talk about ghosts around her, and she knew what a ghost was from Halloween, but she's like, oh, there's a ghost. It wasn't Halloween. It wasn't anything. And she kept peering around corners. She's like, oh, come with me. There's a ghost.
Oh, weird.
And yeah, and it was one day. That was it. She has no recollection of it. But her sisters, they were 12 when we allowed them to come with us.
Okay.
And so we had told her, you got to be 12. But also going back to maturity. And like, okay, let's, we had a residential last year with the family friend, and we were investigating Nikolai Tesla, because he had a lab here in Colorado Springs. And so it's like, you know what, let's try it out. And she did really well. After a time, she got bored and wanted to watch YouTube. But yeah, I don't know if it phases her that things should be scary. Like, she knows scary movies. I took her to a haunted house last weekend, but I don't know if there's that connection, which is kind of the opposite of what I am.
Yeah, that's interesting because, like I said, I've got the kid. I like going and doing stuff like this. One, there's part of me, it's like, man, I don't want him to really, get involved with something he's not ready for. You bring up the maturity level, but kids are, this will sound bad, kids are also kind of stupid sometimes. I don't need him bringing home something that, he thought would be fun to play with. Does that make sense? Right.
You don't need him making any friends to bring home. Sure.
Yeah. But I will say, because of the kid, I think there's something in this whole reincarnation thing. Because the way my son talked about like ships and boats, like there's part of me that it's like, man, I think this kid was a sailor in a past life. It's weird.
And I know it might be weird as a parent. I can only imagine. Here I am going, oh, that's so cool. But you do hear some of those stories, and what is it? And that's, I think, this is so exciting about this, is that we don't really know about the next level, the next plane, the next reality, things like that.
No, it really is. And I will say, like you said, this kind of gets beaten out of you at an early age, that there's no such thing, and it kind of gets turned off in your brain. I've never, at least me, my wife doesn't believe in any of this stuff. Like, I've never told him not to think about it, or it doesn't exist or anything like that. I will say I've never done that for him, so we'll see what happens. Author Erin Taylor on the line with me right now. All right, let's we'll get back to some of the haunting stuff here in a little bit, because I do want to get your take on some of the places in Iowa. But you are a writer. You've been a part of the Morbid Curious Haunted magazine. You've got different books out, including a brand new Unfinished Business, which just is so spectacularly funny to me. Let's start. I want to get to the Unfinished Business books. First off, let's talk. You start doing the ghost stuff. You start going out investigating. When did the writing part of this start in?
This all started after a 10-night road trip for Richard Esteff's Great American Ghost Trip, and we're on night 10. And we have just been going, and we are in, so we went up to Indiana, we went over to Pennsylvania. We were cutting all over. And now we're in Atchison, Kansas at Sally House.
Okay.
And that one's got a notorious story of a little girl who's supposed to be a demonic. We're talking about that. And by the time we got there, we're tired. It's like, you know what, let's take a little nap. I slept for 2 hours. I started joking that I was like, wow, that was, she's a really, really gracious demon. She let me sleep. That's super. And it's like, I should write books about places that you could sleep at. And with encouragement, like, right, let me go and let me do that. And it was pretty cool just going. And so I went to 15 different locations. It was a course of 20 nights over this time of basically documenting the experiments or experiences and then sleeping. Because that's one of the vulnerabilities. It's kind of like when, fast forward to the bathroom. We don't like being haunted when we're vulnerable.
It's funny, though. You say that, but I have talked to people about using the bathroom in haunted places. So it has come up before. All right. So let's what are some of the places you went to?
So I've already mentioned a couple of them. So like the Hinsdale House. In New York. Squirrel Cage Jail was actually the one that wrapped up my book. And so, I was wandering around Iowa for those few days. So Edinburgh Manor, Malvern, Villisca, and elsewhere it was like more in my neck of the woods. So a lot of my small mountain towns, Cripple Creek, I went down to New Mexico. And you weren't aware, there's a Las Vegas down there.
Oh, yeah,
and
really?
Other Las Vegas, yeah. And it's not really spoken about a whole lot. I wrote about it for my first Morbid Curious entry. I think it was issue number 5. But it was a very, very rough and tough like Wild West town. And I mean, Doc Holliday shot his first guy there.
Okay.
And so it just kind of goes under the radar, but it was a pretty ugly place, beautiful place to visit though. And they have two hotels, the Plaza and the Castaneda, that have their own share of ghosts.
And this place, real quick, is just east of Santa Fe, it looks like, correct?
Yep, right down the Interstate 25.
Okay, that's really cool.
Yeah, it's like a Lincoln, you miss it town.
I've got it pulled up here. It does look like a nice little place to visit. So your thing, is it safe to say your thing is kind of will investigate traveling haunted places?
Yes, basically, I want to experience it all. It's like bucket list, but for paranormal locations, like Liz Lemon from 30 Rock would say, I want to go to there. It's like, yes, that's what I want. I mean, and that's where I'm like, I get in trouble, like with finances. I'm like, ooh, I could afford that. Oh yeah, yeah. Live on Mama's for a year, it's fine. No, not really, but it becomes that like excitement, and it feeds all the pleasure principles in my brain and sends all the signals. But there's just something about it that, like, if something's said to be haunted, I'll go. Let me go. I might not have an experience, and that's fine.
Yeah,
but I went.
I'm doing the street view of Las Vegas, New Mexico, and I want to go to this place now. It's pretty rad. Author Erin Taylor on the line with me right now. All right, so when it comes to haunted bathrooms, which one really sticks out to you? Like, which one was like, oh, this either crazy because it was haunted, or just like, wow, this is an interesting vibe in this room?
So I will say for like these books, these are ones that I did not personally, only a couple of them I personally visited.
Okay.
But just investigating, some of the stories. I mean, there were stories of tragedy. We had the Stanley Hotel. The Stanley Hotel has two bathrooms that are said to be haunted, one in the main building and one in the concert hall. But what's interesting about the one in the concert hall is there's no truth of the person being real. But people will tell the story of a girl named Lucy who haunts that bathroom. And I investigated there when I was a brand new little whatever and believing everything. And I thought she was real until researching. There's no documentation. So that one, that one's like just as close to home. There's Evelyn Hale in New York City. She was a real case. She kissed her fiance goodbye, went up to the top of the Empire State Building and jumped. This was back World War II, World War I. Don't have my dates in front of me, but she jumped and she landed on a car, and a photographer was nearby, took her picture, made it Times Magazine, like the most beautiful suicide. And it's a really, really tragic story. So people say they see her in the 86th floor bathroom, applying red lipstick and then going and leaping. Of course, now today they've got guards that fences up that no one can actually jump, but it takes people a moment to realize, okay, that wasn't real.
Okay.
Or what was that?
Hey, Erin, going back for a second, does there have to be a basis of fact for you to believe a story, like with Lucy or this one? Because the only reason I ask is because it makes you think, like, okay, there may be some entity haunting this place that I'm in. There may not be some information out there, but that doesn't mean it might not be real. Do you need that to kind of believe in it, or where do you kind of stand with that?
So it can go, that's really good question, going back to what is haunting, right?
Yeah.
And you're something who's maybe pretending like, oh, you want to talk to someone named Lucy? Well, I can be Lucy. That's totally fine.
Yeah.
And or is it where some cultures have tulpas. They have these basically thought forms, their beliefs, and they come to existence just over enough belief in whatever creature it is. I was talking to someone the other day, and they were telling me about they were on a farm and they had to keep like the chupacabras away, and they had to get everything ready because there was such a belief, and they would hear things. And so our things manifested because of that. But
do you think, going off that tangent then, do you, like with some of these places, do you think it's haunted because something's actually there, or because you talked about it enough that you conjured something?
Sure. Well, we look at places like the Villisca House. Yeah. Where we had a tragic unsolved murder 100 years ago. And Yeah, there's people who will go in there and they'll throw the demon world around. And the only thing I had there was like a really weird olfactory smell that I can't even compare to anything.
Okay.
Do people bring things in with them? Do people open up, I don't think that an Ouija board can bring in things, but there's also that belief of, can people open up some sort of channel for things to come in? I don't think anyone who's haunting Villisca is the family. But there's something there. It's just who or what.
We're kind of on the same page on that. Like sometimes I wonder if it's not really the place, it's what people drug into it. Not, like I said earlier, not a sensitive by any stretch of the imagination, but do I believe that there's an energy to places and people can change that or drag things in? Yeah, I do think that there could be something to that. So that's an interesting take. Okay. Author Erin Taylor on the line with me right now talking about the world of the weird here on The Haunting. Getting back to the bathrooms, is there a haunted bathroom out there that gets a bad rap?
Oh, gosh, you throw me a curveball with that one.
Like it was.
I don't know if there's.
Like the bathroom gets a bad rap that it's a very enjoyable bathroom.
Oh, well, I mean, I hear about ones, and I don't know if they'd be enjoyable. Yeah, you throw me off with that question. Good job with that one.
I do what I can.
Yeah, I'll totally admit I have to peek through my.
No, I get it, but I mean, well, some of these places, I mean, you go back to kind of the stories of the hauntings and stuff of these places where people will just go, "Oh, it's demonic," and it's not. It's not demonic. It's getting a bad rap. Yeah, there may be something going on there. We don't know for sure, but it's getting a bad rap. Is it something it's not? Yeah,
there's a couple of them that come to mind. Like you have ones that the Conjuring House. Conjuring House is, outside of the recent drama, but I covered it in my first Unfinished Business. That whole house gets a bad rep, and so is that bathroom something that could potentially? No, I'm giving you a bad example. I think I'm just going off the whole bad rap one.
No, that's fine. I get it. It's kind of a weird question, but it's. Some of these, I do think some of these places get a bad rap. That, yeah, like I said, there may be something going on there, but it's not what you think. Or it's maybe you're the problem type thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of common themes. And it's like, you look through haunted restrooms, and maybe that's why it's hard for me to pinpoint it.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of themes of faucets running or doors opening or tightening and trapping someone, in a stall or something like that. Handprints on the mirror, ledges, hearing a little child crying. It's always a little child crying. I don't know why. Although I figure it was one that had a woman crying.
If it's my house, it's my bathroom because that's 45 minutes of my day is crying in the bathroom. No, but
your house.
No, but I mean, some of that stuff, you look at bathrooms and plumbing makes weird noises. Humidity causes doors to stick. I mean, there's other things it could be. And
if you have an older building, sure, yes, you're going to have your doors sticking. Some of these places, the stalls may not have been, they haven't updated in a while.
Yeah.
There's some places where the bathroom, like the Conjuring House, the bathroom was put in. It was not original to the building.
Yeah.
And so there's a bunch of different things. Or if you hear something in the pipes and you think it's a child crying, and you heard, I heard that there was a ghost here.
Yeah.
Of course. You say, yeah, that was the ghostly child.
Author Erin Taylor on the line with me right now, talking about everything that goes bump in the night. So you got the 3 books out, Sleeping Among Spirits, Unfinished Business, essentially 1 and 2. And I love that it's Unfinished Business, Tales of Haunted Restrooms. I think that's just the best line ever. What else you got kind of in the pipe? What are we writing about, or what are we getting ready to write about, or what do we have an idea about writing about?
Right now, I am finishing up the last couple chapters on my urban legend, Strange Colorado book. So I have trying to find a nice way to tie it up. I mean, I have enough to finish the book.
Yeah.
But I just don't feel fulfilled with that. So I will be finishing.
No, you made me think of something with the urban legend book. And I don't want to cause a spoiler, before anything comes out, but was there a story that you went into thinking, oh, this is, for lack of a better word, bullshit, and then went, oh, wow, there's something to this? There's been a couple. Okay.
And
listen, I don't want to ruin the book for anybody that, and all that. I get that. I get it.
people could go and Google things and just like that. But Tommy knockers, we have those in the mines. They were, brought over immigrants, and they moved, and they came into Colorado, Utah, the gold rushes, made its way out to California. Stephen King wrote a whole book about it.
And what exactly is a Tommy knocker? Refresh me.
Yes. So Tommy knockers are kind of like little impish, gnomish looking things. They seem to have different descriptions depending on whose account is it. No one has actually seen it and lived to tell the tale.
Okay.
So it's all kind of based on what people have perceived it. So if a Tommy knocker is heard, it can be good luck. It could also be bad luck. So the miners really believed in this myth that because they would actually hear it and then they would find a gold vein. And they'd be like, okay, cool, we can go ahead and we can dig over here. Or there were actually where they would have something happen, like a candle fall. And then as the miner's going to get them, the candle, he just missed like rocks collapsing. Oh. And some people also believe that maybe they're not impish, but maybe they're imps, but they could be spirits of old miners. And they're going in and they're warning. And so we went up to a mine, Capital Prize. It's up Interstate 70 near a town called Georgetown. And we had our proximity readers going off. We had things where I'm like, okay, well, I don't know, again, if this is, Tommy knockers, because again, don't know what this is. Don't know what they look like. I'm not a miner. We're not in there mining. But is there something that is in these mines?
Okay.
And so that one was pretty, I don't know. I still don't know at the end of the day what to call that one.
Okay, that's cool. And so that'll be in the book, correct?
That story is in volume 1. So that one is already already out.
Okay, gotcha. Author Erin Taylor on the line with me, talking about the world of the weird. As it comes back around, is there one of these that you're still working on that it needs more evidence one way or the other?
Bigfoot.
Really?
I have a hard time writing about the mystery man. Yeah, he.
Now, what do you think it is?
I don't know. I'm leaning towards. There's some people who think he's like more of a primate. There's also, I was at a conference last month where there was the exhibition Bigfoot people there, and they're just absolutely fascinating to listen to. We were actually out of Brushy. We heard some sort of yelp that was not a coyote. It went up where I had a Bigfoot expert listen to it, and he's like, actually, yeah, he's like, it sounds like one of the southern Sasquatches. But finding him in Colorado I'm not very good about going out and finding him, I guess, because it's not like you can just go to, a building and find a ghost. So you've got to go into the deep forest. You've got to camp out there. You've got to actually formulate all this. But I've talked to several people who say there are several, not like just in Colorado alone. But
no,
he is one that's gotten away from me right now.
Okay, that's really, really interesting. Yeah, I've got a buddy who is really, him and his brother are really, they went from the paranormal and they got more into the Bigfoot stuff because of stuff that happened to him here in Iowa. And I'd be lying if I said I have never been on a Bigfoot expedition. But yeah, that's an interesting one to bring up because it is kind of, what your idea of what you think it is what always gets challenged. It's like, okay, if it's an animal, I feel like there'd be evidence of it somewhere, right.
It would have been in a trap or something, or
like something tangible. There'd be, I don't know. I have a hard time believing that's a bad way of saying it. It's just, I feel like if it was just an animal of some sort, we would have, we'd have something. I mean, there's enough trail cams out there. There's enough, people out in the woods hunting. And don't get me wrong that there are people that go out there and they hear weird things. But I don't know. What's that?
Just saying, when they do capture them, all their cameras are blurry.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a really weird thing. Okay, so that's one that sticks out for you. Very cool. I'll have links to the books, on the webpage and on, with the podcast and all that. But they can find everything you do on Amazon, correct?
Yes, Amazon, and I do have my books on Audible as well.
Oh, cool. I believe it was in the interview that you said Josh Hurd is going to read for you.
Yes, Josh Hurd, he narrated my first Strange Colorado that's out, and he is currently working on Unfinished Business #2.
Oh, that's
so
very
hopefully
cool.
That one will be out.
I can't remember if we were talking about him on the air or off the air, but very cool dude. And that's cool. It's neat that you have ties to Iowa like that.
Yeah, scrolling through your list, I'm like, I know them. And Troy Taylor and I have a joke that we're cousins. I mean, it's just kind of, it's the Taylor clan. So I've written it in my Morbid Curious bios. I'm like, it's in print, so it's true. So
Troy's another one of those guys that I think I like him a lot more than he likes me.
very cool.
No, very, very cool stuff. Erin, since you brought up Iowa and a few ties, you have been to some of the places here in Iowa. What's the one or two that really sticks out to you that, okay, there's something weird going on at that place?
Like I mentioned Squirrel Cage.
Yep.
That place, that was on like the night 4 of when we were there. That, I don't know if I was fatigued, but it was more of, okay, I would love to come back here. And then the other one was Edinburgh Manor, and our guide Kat, who she investigates that place a whole heck of a lot. She told us it was a quiet night, and yet we had things going on left and right. I mean, we had sounds like of footsteps. We had things kind of it was like a goose chase, and someone was smelling what they called an old man. I don't know, and she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, it's a quiet night," and so that one, I'm like, okay, well, what's a busy night for you then? And Villisco was fine. It was really nice and quiet. Malvern Manor was nice and quiet, but also were we there on quiet nights? It's hard to tell. And that's generally my luck. I joke that I'm the girl on a Friday night waiting for the phone to ring, kind of like the same thing with the ghost. And it's like, oh my gosh, she's too needy that maybe they should check back.
I know that feeling because there's some places I go to and I'm like, I can't tell you. I think this place is haunted, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, and then it just is just me sitting around in a dark room all night talking to nobody.
Yeah.
There's probably a radio joke there too. So,
mm-hmm.
So author Erin Taylor on the line with me right now. As we get ready to wrap up, Erin, I know you talked about a little bit about what the group's going to be doing this winter and that you're going to, be writing and stuff. What else is coming up for you? What can we look forward to? What's going on in the world of Erin Taylor?
Yeah, so right now I'll just be hunkering down for whatever form of winter that Colorado's doing. Strange Colorado, my goal that I set for myself is spring. If I can beat that goal, it would be great. But that all of these are self-published, so information would be put out on my social media. And then I will be sitting down to start a book about spooky little mountain town that we have here called Leadville. And that one's kind of a hidden gem with a whole bunch of really cool spooky stories. So I have enough to keep me busy until the new year. And like I said, it's like I've got a couple conventions and just see what the new year brings.
Did you say Mudville?
Leadville.
Leadville. Okay.
You're really cool name, yeah.
Okay, so what's going on in Leadville? What's the story there, kind of? What's the quick and dirty, I guess?
Living in Colorado my whole life, had never been to Leadville. It's an altitude of 10,000 feet above sea level. I mean, it's the highest unincorporated town in the U.S., actually. And so it was a mining town. And when the gold ran out, a lot of people went west. They went elsewhere. But there was a handful of people who stayed, and they found silver. And silver, sorry, I just heard my Alexa going off. But so it became very, very prosperous for silver. A lot of people became wealthy. If you ever saw Titanic, Kathy Bates played a character called Molly Brown. Molly Brown met her husband up in Leadville, and that's how she became so wealthy.
Oh, weird.
And so there's a lot of spirits. There's a lot of tragic deaths that happened in the mines, like from decapitations to like sudden heart attacks, Tommy knockers, happening in there. There's talks of vampires, but not vampires. Like these.
What is people, a not vampire?
So they were living people, but the way the newspapers describe them is like these miners would go to the saloons, they spend their wages, get really plastered, and as they're walking out, they would pass out in this place that was called Tiger Alley. And when they awoke, they had been robbed, pretty much. And they know that they hadn't spent their money. It's just like they had it when they left. But it was said, though, that there were these individuals who would swoop in. And that's how the newspapers described it. They would swoop in and basically take what they wanted, and they would go. And no one knew who they were, and they were very quiet, and they were just in the night. So they got this word of vampires. But that was at first.
Is Leadville the joint over by Turquoise Lake?
I think so. I'm so bad with my geography.
No, you're fine. Sorry, I keep looking this because I'm interested in it. I kind of like seeing it. This is crazy stuff. All right, so Leadville, Colorado might be the place to go check out. So very cool stuff. Well, Erin, I appreciate the time so much. Like I said, we'll have all your links to books and social media and all that at the bottom of the page. We'll let you get to your Friday night because we are recording on a Friday here. But thank you so much for the time.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, the time really went by fast. This was a lot of fun.
We'll let you get to it. Erin, thank you so much. You have a great weekend, okay?
All right. You do the same. Have a good one.